Welcome to Fun in Key West, where every day feels like a mini fest. Grab a drink, take it slow. We'll show you where the locals go. Food, fun, and stories to tell. Hidden gems you know so well. Your Key West experts here to say it's fun in Key West every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Fun in Key West podcast. And I am Michelle, and I am so glad that you are here because today we are talking about a job that involves sandbars, sunshine, brunch on the water, bar crawls, by boat. Basically, everything that your heart desires and that you wish you were doing, because I think there's a bunch of you who are sitting right now in some really, really cold weather. And I think you are going to be very, very jealous of our guest today, who is Zach with Salty Paws Charters. Welcome, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Great. So, before we dive into Salty Paws Charters, first off, tell me, tell us who Zach is. You're not on the charter. You're everyday. What are you doing before this life? Who's Zach?
Oh man, so being a captain kind of fell into my lap. I went to school to be a teacher, and I was going to use my captain's license, as a summertime gig. And it's my passion to, help people and make sure that not just we're having a good time, but like we're also learning a little bit. That's kind of, I guess, why I went to school to be a teacher. I left New Jersey though, came down here about 11 years ago. I dropped out of college to pursue my passion as a captain, and I still teach people, just not in the schoolroom. My schoolroom is on this boat behind me.
That's awesome. So about
Yeah,
11 years ago, you decided, you know what? That behind you is going to be my office. Um,
absolutely.
what made you pick Key West versus all the other places you could go in the U.S.?
I mean, I've never been here before. I've heard about it. I had a connection with one of the founders of parasailing down here, who was my boss up in New Jersey.
Okay.
And so it was a solid connection that I kind of rode his coattails to get my foot in the door down here. I just like everyone else, you kind of start off slow, maybe a little rocky, but you iron out your path, and here we are today. Got my own company, and we're just trying to, bring a little bit of Key West that people don't get to really see to the forefront. Everyone thinks Key West is just drinking and walking around Duval, but there's so much more to see down here that people don't realize.
Absolutely. So what did your friends and family say when you were like, hey, I'm packing it all up, I'm moving to Key West, and I'm going to be a charter boat captain?
It didn't surprise them too much. There was that typical Zach experience. I'm always kind of flying by the seam of my pants. Very gung ho and very tenacious when it comes to my ideas and prospects. So I see something's gonna work and I kind of jump on it, and the rest is history. I'm still writing that book though. So
That's awesome. So Salty Paws Charters. I'm going to assume, just because of the name and your logo, that there's a dog involved.
hopefully there is. I don't always bring my pooch out with us. If the guests suggest or ask if I can, then I absolutely will, weather permitting. Sometimes it's a little too hot in the water for my dog. He's a black French bulldog, so he just soaks up all that heat. But we are a dog friendly charter company. So we have guests all the time bringing their dog or dogs. We have all the things that they might need, bowls of water,
Awesome.
um, plenty of beach and sand for them to run on. Uh, yeah, we try to suit everyone's needs when we're out on the water.
That's awesome. You can hear my grand dog, Mr. Coffee. He's letting himself be known and letting the squirrels know he sees them. Um, so, what makes your charter services different than those? So I'm walking down the Duval, and you're going to get all these people say, "Hey, come out on the water with us." What makes you different than those?
I'm gonna know your name, and I can't say that other charter companies out here won't know you by your name, but I just have seen, most people down here, you're just a number, and they're just trying to push people onto these boats. It's way less prevalent in the private charter industry. Um, what sets me aside, I don't want to say people don't care, but I do care. Sometimes I care too much, and I want people to not just check all the checks that they have on their to do list. I want to show them stuff that they might not even think to put on their to do list. People haven't been down here. I've been down here a long time. I've seen a lot, and I'm still seeing stuff that I didn't expect to see.
Mhm.
So I try to include all of those experiences into the charters that I have with my guests.
Yeah,
Um, the
that's
other thing that sets me aside, a lot of charters down here, we all do the same kind of trips: sandbars, snorkeling, dolphins, uh, like watching tours, which we do.
right.
But I like to separate myself from everyone else, so we started offering some bar crawl charters. We have about 8 or 9 restaurants that are dockside in Key West.
Okay.
um, One of the questions I get asked all the time is, where do we eat? Well, we can go to those places via the boat. It's a different experience. It's a new way to see Key West from a different perspective,
Hmm.
and hop around from bar to bar. A lot of chargers don't have that possibility, so
No,
I'm trying to bring that to the table.
that's awesome. And usually do what, 2 to 3 stops on the bar crawl, and it's
That
about two to
that's
three
right.
hours.
Yep. With the chance of extension, if you like, it's sometimes after the second or third bar, you might want to call it a day, anyways. So,
Yeah. But there's always, a lot of the bars, especially the waterfront ones, offer some sort of snack. And so I always encourage people water, drink, snack in that order.
absolutely.
So, what kind of vibe are you finding that people come on board with? Are you looking for people who come on board and are, well, first, you're limited to 6 people, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And if I have more than 6 people in my group,
Hmm.
do you partner with anybody else, or are you just limited to 6 people?
I have a couple other like fellow captains that have their own charter company that if there were a larger group, we have, teamed up before.
Okay.
It does take away from the trip though, breaking up the group. It really just takes some coordination between me and the other captain, which isn't hard to do. Um, the other thing that needs to come into play is the weather. It's nice to be able to find a spot that we can all get back together. It's cool being able to see each other, in the other boats driving past each other, which is it's a cool experience that not everyone gets to see. But in the near future, we do plan on having it's called a bareboat charter,
Okay.
where it's technically a boat rental, where you
Hmm.
would rent the boat, and then you would pick from a list of approved captains that we offer, and then you would pay them separately as a guide, if you will.
Hmm.
But once that gets a little bit more ironed out, we will be able to do charters of up to 9 people.
Okay.
10 if, yeah, but maybe like a small child or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Talking about, though, getting out on the water outside of the bar crawls, sandbar. Tell us about, because I've got people watching and they're sitting there saying, what exactly is a sandbar? What can we expect? Why should I go out on a sandbar? Now, I have my reasons, um,
Okay.
but I want to hear what do they expect? What is a sandbar adventure like?
So, Key West, a lot of people don't really think of the beach as the top thing on their list when they come to Key West. And they're not wrong, because our beaches, unfortunately, they're all man made. You go to other states or other coastline, they have long, extravagant beaches where we don't have that. So the thing we do have, we are, I like to call it the continental Caribbean. We're the only Caribbean that you can drive to physically.
Hmm.
So when you do get down here, you don't get to see that Caribbean color on our beaches. Those Caribbean turquoise blues and greens, they really pop once you get away from Key West. So those sandbars, it might be about a 30-minute ride out there, but you don't see any land other than our mangrove islands, all of the little saddle bunch keys. You see Cuba in the distance. It's not really Cuba. And then once you get out there, there's a beach that's exposed. It's basically a beach in the middle of the ocean with your typical turquoise blue water with the sand ripples underneath of it, seagulls squawking in the distance, dogs running along the sandbar. It's just a pretty sight. You got conch shells posted up in the corners. It's very, it's hard to put it in perspective when you haven't seen it firsthand, and I'm not too elaborate with my words.
No,
So
you're doing great. So what's interesting though is, and if you are watching us live, be sure to let us know you're here so that we can do a shout out or answer any questions that you have. What are people's reaction though if they've never experienced a sandbar and they step off into that waist high, knee high water, and they're standing there in the middle? I'm literally, you are in the middle of nowhere and you're standing on sand. Do they ever say like, wait, this is real life? I mean, is that sort of the reactions that people give you?
absolutely, once we get out there, they are, beside themselves with the fact that, oh, we're X amount of miles away from land, and this is only 2.5 feet. And they're expecting it to be way overhead. They can't see the bottom, but we get out there and it's this blue green water with the sand. It's just, if you've never experienced anything like that before, it does kind of take you back a little bit.
It does.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
It is. So you offer the sandbar. Did I also see island hopping, or is that sandbar?
We do offer an island hopping tour, so it's just more of a little bit of an exploratory trip. We
Hmm.
cover a lot of ground on that. It's kind of like an eco tour where we talk about our flora and fauna, mangroves, see a bunch of wildlife, maybe some manatees, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Um, so the island hopping, it would be more for someone who would like to go to a sandbar, and then might have a touch of some adult ADHD, and that sandbar might have gotten a little boring to them. They want to see another sandbar. So that just gives us, the fuel to hop around to see all these different locations. And then possibly maybe we'd stop at a shipwreck and do some snorkeling, or a shallow, it's hard to get out to the reef with all the island hopping because sometimes the reef might be a little rough and the visibility might not be there. So I have some more shallower protected areas that we could stop at and take a dip and see what is underneath the surface.
That's awesome. So switching a little bit here, sunset charters. Now, you see all these sunset cruises out there, especially along the sea, the seaport, the area there. You go out, you're with one of many. So I'm assuming that the benefit of coming out with you on a sunset is you're one of a few, and it's just the people you like and want to be with. What's it like watching a sunset from the water versus Mallory Square?
Mallory Square, you're just battling with all the people. You're like sardines in a can, just packed in there. Um, Out on the water, it's you don't have any kind of blockage. There's no islands in front of your way or other boats that you can't, control. You're saying, move, you're blocking. I've been standing here for 30 minutes and
Mhm.
now you're coming right at the perfect time, blocking right in front.
Right?
That's what happens when you're stuck from land. Um, I've been doing this for, 10 years, 11 years down here in Key West. So we can move around when we're out on the water. I know how to position us where we don't have to worry about the boats getting in our way, the current pulling us behind an island. It's on the water. There's way less obstacles that you have to try to avoid to see the sunset.
Yeah, it's just if you've not experienced a Key West sunset from the water, you are missing out on an opportunity to see absolutely one of the best sunsets. And what I tell people all the time is every sunset is different. So if you've been out on the water, great. But the next time you
Mhm.
go, it's going to be completely different. And I'm sure I'm going to have somebody ask this, but have you ever seen the green flash?
I have. Yes, I have. See,
That's
the
cool.
trick is though, when you want to look at the sunset. It's so pretty, you don't want to look away, but it damages your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't see that green flash because you've been staring at this scalding light the whole time. And when you blink, you see that spot. So the trick that I tell my people, if you've already seen the sunset down in Key West, just avoid it for a little bit. It's still there. It's not going any. I mean, it is going somewhere, but
Yeah.
so the trick is once the sun, if this is the horizon and the sun is about halfway to 2/3 of the way gone, it doesn't damage your eyes as much. Then you can look at it without your sunglasses. And when that last little sliver passes the horizon, it emits this quick little green burst, and it is a sight to see. But it's hard to catch, and the conditions have to be just perfect.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but it's true. It's not it's not a myth.
It's not a myth. You've seen it.
Yes,
So that's why I always tell people you got to go out on the water to be able to really have that focus and be able to do that. So you also do a brunch cruise, right?
that's right. So being down here and having some connections from talking and working for so many years, I've built some really good connections at Latitudes.
Okay.
So we have the opportunity to set you guys up with a breakfast or a lunch reservation. You guys would take the ferry over there, and when you're finished with your reservation,
Hmm.
it's a little bit more exclusive of a departure. I come and pick you up in Salty Paws, and then we go out for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on how full you are. And then we can, either just explore, do a harbor tour, go to a sandbar, go snorkeling if you feel up for that. My mom always told me wait 30 minutes before I eat
Yep.
or before I swim. So, um, it's really up to you what we do after that, but we have about a 2 hour window that follows that.
I don't think there's anybody else doing that, is there?
There's no one else doing that.
There you go.
No.
So that's an exclusive thing. You and I chatted a little bit. You have something new that you're working in that maybe you're
I
going to launch
do.
in March.
Yep. So we're gonna do a soft launch in March. Before I came here, I used to run a pirate ship for families and their kids. It
Ooh.
was like an interactive play on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And since I've moved here, I've been trying to wrap my head around how I can logistically do that down here with the means that I have available to me.
Right.
Um, and I think I've figured it out. So we're gonna be doing it's like a scavenger hunt slash pirate trip,
Ooh.
but I'm not going to be having obviously a giant pirate ship that you'll see up in like St. Pete that they have 120 people come out on. This is going to be more of a historical base scavenger hunt where we go out and find a treasure map, get keys to the treasure, find a message in a bottle, find a treasure. And along this whole time, I'm going to be telling you about what we're looking at. There's so much historical value to these little barrier islands that we have around Key West that really tie into the treasure hunting and the history of the Keys. And
Absolutely.
so it's not just going to be this shtick or gimmicky thing, which it's going to be fun, but it's also going to be a little bit informative and touch some bases and tie in our you know big moments of Key West. So they have a little bit more to take home than just the treasure that I'll be finding with these
That's
guys.
awesome. Is there a specific age group that would probably work best for, or for any of your charters?
I'd say, well, the age for any of my charters is any age. We can suit all ages. It's probably not the best idea to bring an infant on a
No.
charter because you're going to be bouncing around a lot. On a very calm day, yes, absolutely. Um, but for the pirate trips, I think that an appropriate age would be anywhere from 3 to maybe 14. I don't really know. Some of those teenagers are kind of too cool for school.
Yep.
But this isn't necessarily going to be, you know, face painting and pirate hats and stuff. It's going to be me in my like element, just being a salty dog. And we have a modern map with some modern treasure, modern pirates. No dreads or rum.
Yep.
Unless they're drinking rum later. But yeah, the age group probably I'd say maybe 12 to 14 at the oldest for the pirate trip.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, especially come spring break. A lot of families come to Key West. I get a lot of pushback sometimes from people who say Key West isn't great for families. I disagree. I think Key West is a great place for families. There's so much to do. Um, if I'm coming on one of your charters, what is one thing or a few things that I absolutely should always bring?
Ooh, a towel and sunscreen for sure. You know that we're huge on the reef safe sunscreen down here. I prefer not to have, the spray on aerosol stuff because one, it's terrible for the environment, and
Right.
two, it's impossible to get off the boat when you're spraying it on and the wind grabs it.
Right.
But yeah, towels are definitely important. I always make sure when my guests call me, I'm the first person they talk to. I make sure I'm watching the weather like a hawk. So
Mm,
if it's good, we're gonna have a little chance of wind. I know it's not chilly to most people down here, but I always let people know, hey, we're going out at 8 in the morning. The sun's still coming up. It's a good idea to bring a hoodie,
yeah.
you know. But yeah, towel and sunscreen I'd say is most important. I provide water. I have an ice chest that's filled with ice. So if you have any other refreshments, alcoholic or non, we could throw them in there. We have room for food as well. It's just, if you bring a sandwich, it's a good idea to have a little lunch box for it. So if you
Yeah.
put a sandwich in the cooler, you could have it wrapped in 3 bags. It's still going to get a little soggy.
Yep. It absolutely is going to get soggy. Um, so it
No one wants
sounds
to eat a
like,
soggy sandwich.
yeah, it sounds like you're able to, if I call on and book a tour with you, that you can pretty much customize this to whatever I want.
Yeah, for sure. I like to say we're tailor-made charters to suit your needs, weather permitting, obviously.
Obviously. Yep. You've been doing this for 11 plus years. What makes you still love doing this?
The reaction and experiences that I get to give to people. Everyone down here will they get jaded, but seeing the experience and the reaction that I get out of people and having them experience it for the first time lets me experience it again for the first time. So it
Yep.
really just keeps it alive, keeps that passion here.
That's awesome. And I think that truly comes through when somebody goes out on a charter with you because you're passionate about this. A few more questions, and if anybody has any that's watching live, let me know. But I have a link down below in our broadcast here, and I'm going to put it out there. But they'll find you on your website, Salty Paws, and you also have a code to save $100, which is Salty Deal, all in caps. And so you can
That's
save
right.
$100. Be sure to tell them that Fun and Key West sent you. But we'll have more information about that. I know for a fact because I talk to a lot of tour operators that do water, land, all of it. Everybody asks the question, where should I go eat and what do you recommend? And I know that's a loaded question because it depends on what you're interested in eating. But instead of answering that question, this is the question I always ask my guests. What is your go to meal in Key West and where is it?
Mm. Well, my go-to meal is probably ropa vieja from El Cibane.
Okay.
That or the half garlic roasted chicken. I love El Cibane. I've never had Cuban food before moving down here. That's probably the best Cuban spot in my opinion. I haven't had Maison de Pepe yet, but I
Ooh.
heard they are really good. So
Hmm.
I can't compare because I haven't had it. But El Cibane is top of my list.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have a favorite location? Key West, Stock Island? What's your.
Key West.
Okay.
Key West. I like the Stock Island location. It's just I've always gone to the one in
Yep.
Key West. I can't discriminate.
Yep. Yep. Favorite happy hour? Do you have one?
Favorite happy hour? It's just like most people, Boathouse. A
Mm-hmm.
Boathouse is, it hits all the marks. Uh, yeah, I think Boathouse.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then one last favorite place for coffee and what's your order?
Um, Probably my kitchen. I make my own espresso.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you do an Italian espresso or do you make it Cuban?
The Cuban espresso with the little metal pot. Put it
Yep.
right on the stove. Double
Yep.
boil.
So you use the mocha pot and he adds the sugars and all of that.
Yeah, not so. No, so the Cuban espresso is very sweet.
Yep.
But yeah, the Cuban espresso, they put so much sugar in there.
Yeah.
I just do like just one scoop.
Just one scoop. Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
I never go more than two because that's way too sweet for me. But
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Teach their own.
Yeah. So, thank you, Zach, so much. Is there anything else you want our community to know, or who's ever watching to say, "Hey, we didn't cover this, and I want you to know about that"?
Yeah, maybe just don't be a stranger and reach out. I got all the answers to your questions. And if I don't, I'll make something up and it'll sound good.
There you go. I like that absolutely. Well, Zach, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us live on this podcast, you, my viewer, and you, my friend, and part of this community. This is what we do. We bring people in and let you meet these tour operators. These are the guys and gals who are the heart and soul, I think, of Key West. They bring your adventures to life, and like Zach said, he is coming up with some new things all the time to make Salty Paws stand out. So the link is below on how to book. Grab and use that code to save your $100 and be sure to let them know that Fun and Key West sent you. In the meantime, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to you later. Thanks, Zach.
You're welcome. Thank you.